This is a pedigree chart for one side of my family and goes back 6 generations. I'm going to be talking about a specific group of people on this chart. It's this family right here, and talk about some of the difficulties in sourcing records for that family, because as you can see, this is going farther back in time, going this way. This is basically a brick wall. If there's nobody filled out over here, that means it's a brick wall. And you can see there's lots of brick walls, especially on a couple branches of the family. But this one I think is worth commenting on, because if you have Irish American ancestry, it's a pretty common situation. And let me explain. So looking at Mary Ann Tierney, she's my great-great-grandmother. And you can see some of the basic facts about her life and her death. She died in 1942, and that means that it's pretty easy to get a death record for that. I had to go to the town clerk, but here is the death record for Mary Ann. And one of the great things about death records, if they're well sourced, is that you can get information about the parents. And that's how I got the names of Mary Ann's parents, because before I didn't know about them. But at that point, the record trail really petered out. So I was able to find Michael and Bridget in the 1860 federal census in Western New York, where they lived. There was some small problems with mistranscriptions of their names. For instance, Tierney was spelled in a different way, and that's a pretty common thing on older census transcriptions. But beyond that 1860 record, I couldn't find anything. And I did go back to the Irish records that are available, Griffiths valuations, etc. But I couldn't make any definitive identification of where they came from in Ireland or who their parents were. I have about their rough birth dates, and that's based on the 1860 census, which I believe asked about how old they were. So I was able to determine that, but that's about it. And usually the tricky thing that happens now, if you only have like a single census, or you can't figure out what happened to them after that single census, like maybe they went west or something like that, and maybe they weren't recorded, or maybe they died young, then you have to really go into digging into local records. So if they died after 1880, it's possible that death records exist if they were in New York. If they moved to another state or another territory in the United States, or maybe even an unincorporated territory, it may be a different story. I might not be able to find out any information about them. At least I have this record, which has been very helpful. But to find out more information, I think what I'm going to need to do is go to the Somerset, New York, where they were living in 1860, and see what sort of local property records or deeds that I can find. Some of it may be on Family Search, but I haven't had a chance to do like a full text search on those records. But that's kind of where I will need to go. Finding immigration records, like the boat that they came over, that's a really tough sell. And actually, for all of my ancestors who immigrated, I haven't been able to find any immigration records or passenger list or anything like that. So I'm not really confident about that. But maybe at the local level, in the actual area where they lived, I might be able to find some more paper records, which might tease apart the mystery of where they came from or where they ended up.